And speaking of middle fingers, yeah, that's what time it is again. Yeah, this past weekend, the UFC just gave me like a huge middle finger. Or I guess maybe it wasn't this past weekend, it was the weekend prior. I just hadn't had a chance to talk about it on the podcast yet. But man, UFC Freedom 250. I have never seen a card, go as much against what I had kind of thought that it was going to happen as this one. Like, good God, man, just about every fighter that I wanted to win didn't win. Um, Even guys that I kind of, you know, just somewhat preferred over the other guy. Oh man, didn't go the way that I wanted it to. So obviously, Alex Pereira, he got knocked out by Cyril Gahn. I didn't think that was going to happen, but Smiling Sam Alvey, he actually did point something out when he made his video on his picks, and he basically said, "Hey, Cyril Gahn will cheat. Like a guy that will cheat, a guy who's willing to cheat, he'll win a lot of fights." And I guess, we kind of saw that he's willing to cheat in his fight against in his fight against Tom Aspinall. And those blows to the back of Alex Pereira's head. What was the ref doing there? I guess it was who was the ref on that fight? Herb Dean. Yeah, Herb Dean. He's a cool guy, but man, he definitely turns in some stinkers every so often, and this was one of them. So yeah, didn't see that one coming. Josh Hokett knocking out Derek Lewis. Like obviously something was wrong with Derek Lewis. I mean, Josh Hokett, I think everybody by now they understand fully that like he's for real. Like he's got that character like I talked about before. He's bringing fun back to the UFC like I talked about before. But that's not the only thing that he's relying on. Josh Hokett can go. And of course, people did get upset about his comments about Michelle Obama. Yeah, he's playing a character. That's all it is. It doesn't mean that I necessarily approve of that. In fact, in my opinion, I think that was kind of more of like I'm more probably a little bit more thumbs down on that than I was thumbs up. Because I mean, Michelle Obama, she's not a fighter. You want to be a fighter and go and goof around at the expense of the other fighters. The other fighters have an opportunity to get back at you for it. Michelle Obama's not a fighter. She can't get back into the into the cage and get back at you. Even her husband can't get into that cage and get back at you. And this whole thing with Michelle Obama is a man. It's so stupid. But there are people out there that earnestly believe it to be true. Yeah, this whole thing about, oh, she's been pregnant twice and there are no pregnancy pictures of her. It's like, no, there are no pregnancy pictures that you've seen. They've been kept private. That's reasonable. You know, just because you haven't seen them doesn't mean that they don't exist. Like this is an imbecilic argument. Like past the dunce cap. Like just like oof. No, that's dumb. That's dumb. And then of course Michael Chandler. I wanted to see Michael Chandler get a win. Michael Chandler did not get a win. I say that at this point, probably that fight with Conor McGregor is 10,000% off the books because Chandler just hasn't performed in the UFC. Like, he just hasn't. I love that dude as a fighter, but hasn't gotten done what he needs to get done to be in the running, to be eligible for a fight like of that caliber. So, sorry, Mike. I would have loved to see it, but there's no red panty night in your future. But there is potentially, I would say, maybe a red panty night in Justin Gaethje's future. Because of all the fights that I didn't go the way that I thought they would, there was one that at least went the way that I thought that it could. And Justin Gaethje, after the Freedom 250 card at the White House, he is now the undisputed. He was previously the interim lightweight champion of the world, Now he is the undisputed lightweight champion of the world, finally. This guy has worked his ass off for an entire career to climb that mountain, and he finally climbed that mountain, and he did it at a time when absolutely nobody thought that he could. When he won that interim lightweight championship, there were already people that were saying that basically Justin Gaethje, just all he did was he won the opportunity to be sacrificed to Ilia Topuria. Because Ilia Topuria, at that point, I guess we already knew about a lot of the things that were going on with Ilia Topuria, the things that were going on in his personal life, things related to his wife and his kid and his personal struggles. Awful things. I would wish them on nobody, and especially not on Ilia Topuria, because I like Ilia Topuria a lot. But a lot of people were just kind of looking at that, and it's like, life has done Ilia Topuria pretty dirty, and it has. And now he's going to go take it out on Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje doesn't stand a chance. Do you know who does not do that at all? This whole thing where he will walk into a fight tolerating the notion that he doesn't have a chance in that fight. There is one fighter in UFC history that does that, that just does not do that more than any other fighter in UFC history, and that is Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje did exactly what he did the last time that a lot of people thought that he didn't have any chance in a fight. And that was when he went out and he tore through Tony Ferguson like a buzzsaw. Like, he went out and he absolutely destroyed him. There were people that said that Justin Gaethje left Tony Ferguson looking like he just fought Tony Ferguson. Nobody had that. Absolutely nobody had that on their betting line. And he went out and did that. And that was how he won his first interim lightweight championship of the world, which, of course, was eventually unified with the undisputed lightweight championship of the world, when he lost that fight to Khabib Nurmagomedov. And that was a fight then, Habib was pretty heavily favored in that. But even then, Justin Gaethje was not doing that. Like, he went out into that fight and basically he just tore into Khabib with those leg kicks. And even after Khabib took the shot, got him down, went to the armbar, then went to the choke to secure the undisputed lightweight championship of the world in his last fight ever. Justin Gaethje, he even said that if Justin Gaethje had landed like one more leg kick on him, Khabib would not have been able to continue. So you absolutely never count Justin Gaethje out. Absolutely never, ever. And in the lead up to the Freedom 250 card, I talked about Alex Pereira and the way that he had kind of spoiled Carlos Ulberg's plans, his designs on beating Pereira for the light heavyweight championship of the world. And I suppose maybe what I ought to have talked about was the way that you never, ever, ever count Justin Gaethje out of a fight, and you definitely don't do it before that fight has even started. So now, UFC's next pay-per-view, Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor. I would dare say that even though, like Max Holloway, he did just lose the BMF championship to Charles Oliveira in a very un-BMF fight. In all honesty, I don't think that should have been booked as a BMF championship fight. But they did it, and now Charles Oliveira is a very un-BMF BMF. And even though Conor McGregor's last UFC win was against an aging Donald Cerrone, so realistically, that was years ago, by the way. I think that might have been at least 4 years ago, maybe more. I didn't bother to sit down and look down that exact date before I started recording this. I really ought to have, but I didn't. Hey, that's kind of the way that we do things. I just fly off the cuff sometimes. But regardless, I think that you could make the argument that neither one of these guys have earned it. But unfortunately, this is a business. And so in business, sometimes you do the thing that is going to make you the most money. And I feel that with the history between Gaethje and Holloway and just the mystique that still surrounds Conor McGregor, even if I would argue that he doesn't really deserve it anymore, he is still a pretty big star. Even having taken the amount of time off that he just took, he is still a pretty big star in this business. So even if neither of them deserve it, there's just too much money to be made to ignore it. So I do think that the next challenge for Justin Gaethje sounds like a lot of people think that maybe it could be his last fight in the UFC. I mean, honestly, I hope not, because I don't want to see Justin Gaethje retire. I don't want there to never be another Justin Gaethje fight. But Gaethje versus Holloway for the lightweight championship of the world. Justin Gaethje versus Conor McGregor for the lightweight championship of the world. Just might be too much money there for that. He just might not be the kind of thing that Dana White can look away from. I think that is likely to be the next fight for Justin Gaethje. And if it is, don't ever count Justin Gaethje out, and definitely don't do it before the fight has even started. Maybe he wins that fight. Maybe he retires as the lightweight champion of the world. Well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he gives us another fight. But either way, I think that by now, the one thing that everybody ought to have learned, that this is a dog that is always in the fight. Always. And I don't think that you would want to be the other dog in that fight.